Hello there folks, my name is Spunks and I saw Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. It was okay. Now while I wasn't as hyped as I was for the past other DreamWorks movies, I was still interested enough. The trailers were cute and the concept was intriguing enough, I guess. I was definitely interested in seeing this movie, and while it definitely didn't live up to the heights of, again, the past two DreamWorks films, I still found this to be a solid enough, okay, good enough kids movie. Starting with the positives, the animation, of course, is pretty good, pretty solid. I love the designs of the Kraken and the mermaids. The humans, on the other hand, we'll get to later, but it's definitely a much more simplistic, cartoonish look, and I think DreamWorks did a good job with that. A lot of emphasis on squash and stretch. When we enter the world of the Kraken, it's very colorful and appealing and well designed, and I also really like the design and the look of the seaside town that the Gillmans live in. I think it's a very inventive, creative looking seaside town. And again, the use of squash and stretch is very well done. The movements are fluid, but when the animation really shines the most is during the big action set pieces, especially in the climax. I thought the animation really popped off there. As for the characters, they were decent enough. I didn't hate or downright despise a lot of them. The standouts to me were Ruby Gillman. I thought she was probably the most developed and well-rounded character in the movie. Obviously, she's the main character, but compared to everyone else, she was the one I was most invested in, and I thought the movie did a really good job with her arc and her dynamic with her mom. I thought that's when the movie shined the most. It felt very similar to Turning Red, but with its own unique spin, and again, that's where I feel like the movie shined the most, when it was pretty much doing its own Turning Red, where it didn't feel like it was copying itself from it, but it was its own thing. I also liked the sea captain played by Will Forte. He was the funniest character in the movie. And as for everyone else, we'll get to them later, but just know I didn't hate a lot of the characters. They did their job, and they weren't annoying or horrible or anything. I also found the movie at times to be pretty funny. Again, the Will Forte sea captain was the funniest character in the movie. But as for a lot of the other jokes, they got a good giggle and chuckle out of me, whether it be the goofy slapstick or how Ruby has to deal with concealing her secret Kraken powers. A lot of it I thought was pretty funny at times. And lastly, I did like some of the themes and concepts the movie explored. I just wished they could have explored them a bit better. Again, when they tried to do their own spin on Turning Red, I thought that's when the movie shined the most. I liked exploring the Kraken world and their rivalry with mermaids. I thought was honestly pretty original and creative. And when the movie gets to explore these themes in depth, I think, again, it's where the movie shines the brightest. But unfortunately, I do have many issues with this movie that prevent it from being great, let alone good, unfortunately. First off, this doesn't even have anything to do with the movie, more so the marketing, and that is the fact that the trailers really revealed way more than they should have. So if you've seen the trailers and a lot of the marketing material, you've probably seen way more footage and more plot points and stuff revealed about the movie than you should have. Again, not an issue with the movie, more so the marketing. But back to the movie, the biggest problem with this movie is the story, unfortunately, as there's just way too much stuff going on and way too many characters for this movie to handle. It never found the balance. At one point, it's about Ruby asking the boy she likes to prom. The other, it's her connecting with her mom. Then she's learning how to be a Kraken warrior princess, and so on and so forth. And it becomes so jumbled, and you can really tell that the filmmakers were kind of struggling balancing all of these different plot points and characters in a way that made it feel natural and adjustable. Speaking of the characters, since there's so many of them, not a lot of them leave a lasting impression outside of the couple characters that I mentioned earlier. Like, I really didn't get the purpose of Ruby's friends. They didn't really contribute much, and especially the boy she likes. I didn't understand his purpose in the movie, really. I felt like the rest of her family outside of her mom and grandma could have been giving a little bit but more to do to make them, or at least a little bit more personality, like her brother and her uncle. I just felt like they were just kind of there for comic relief, and their jokes just didn't really land for me, sadly. Speaking of the comedy, I found a lot of the jokes to be not horrible or anything, but certainly not great. It was definitely a lot more juvenile and childish, playing to the lowest common denominator with a lot of these jokes. It felt like their only reason for being funny was to be loud and obnoxious and in your face, really. And a lot of these jokes just didn't work for me. And lastly, like I said earlier, the designs on the human characters just look so strange and bizarre. I get what they were trying to do, go for the cartoonier aesthetic and design, but it just doesn't translate well. Maybe had this been like Hotel Transylvania, where they found the right balance, or if this had been a much more stylized film, like what's going on with the new Ninja Turtles movie, the humans wouldn't look as hideous and their body proportions wouldn't look as jarring. But as how they look in this movie, they just look downright odd and weird to me. So yeah, overall, Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken is fine. It's got some pretty animation, some good comedy, some likable characters, and some of its themes and ideas, but it's bogged down by a weak story that has way too much going on, weak characters, weak comedy, and some really weird human designs. Again, it's not bad. It's not horrible. This isn't even close to some of the worst DreamWorks has ever made. This is definitely leagues above Shark Tale, but it's not really something I would recommend you rushing out to see. You could probably wait for this to stream on Netflix or video on demand or buy it on DVD. And those were my thoughts on Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. What did y'all think of it? If you've seen it, did you like it? Did you hate it? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links at the end of the video. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.